the Sai Lakshmi Madam and Dr. Monique Kumar is the right person. I can say that even last month and 15th of August we started. I mean, that is the Independent Day. And nursing also have same scenario, independent, pre-independent, same. But it is his work and here is the vision and the way he is doing, not only in India, before he is moving to UK and went to UK. Our, all our SRMC alumni, proud to see him as a practitioner, researcher. We didn't expect that all potential he made us become the, not only as a, SRMC alumni, the proud Indian nurse who is doing best in UK. And we are always love him and you are watching him every time what he is doing. So these all I know and many people know that, but this program is going to enlighten both of them. What is the scope? Because we all, myself, Monique Kumar, who trained here, he is doing the best. That by many potential nurses are here in India. We don't want to migrate and go to other country. Why not we be here, be the practice? That is a way, that thought in your mind. Association collaborate with the NTA. There is one of the huge professional body. And really, I thank to them and the support of the CPS. I think I don't want to take much more because I'm also eagerly waiting to hear from them. Thank you once again. We'll go ahead with this program and hand over to Julie sister. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gopi, for briefing the theme of today's topic. And of course, we are very much enlightened with your enthusiasm, and I hope this enthusiasm passes on to the nurses. So over to you, Ms. Poonam.
Thank you, Julie, ma'am. So once again, as I would like to introduce the Nursing Teachers Association of India on behalf of our National President, Dr. Farooq Khan, who is just out of station due to some urgent work. So the Nursing Teachers Association of India was made in 2019 February with the motive to provide a dynamic platform to all the trained nursing personnel in India as well as abroad also, to bridge the gap between the Indian and foreigner nurses, to enrich the nursing knowledge among all of them, to promote the advancement of all aspects of nursing profession. As all of us know that in India, we are having so much associations, those who are working for the clinical area nurses. But I think the Nursing Teachers Association was started with the vision. There should be something for the teachers who are working in the nursing profession, to the advancement of them, to bridge the gap between the nursing, theoretical and clinical area. It was the main purpose. Currently, we are having our journal also running under the level of the Nursing Teachers Association India. And our main motto during this COVID pandemic, we had conducted a lot of series of online webinars. And we are very much thankful to the Society of Cardiological Nursing, Dr. L. Gopi Chandran sir, CBS publisher, so that they have provided a
Disconnected from her.
I hope my screen is visible.
Yeah, I think some issue in your network, I think.
So, sir, are you able to see?
Yeah. Okay, fine.
Okay, thank you. So, our today's first speaker is Dr. Sai Lakshmi Gandhi, madam.
We are not able to. Yeah, okay, fine.
Madam is professor and head of department in nursing, main nursing consultant in psychiatric rehabilitation services and geriatric psychiatric services and adult psychiatric unit 5 in NIMHANS, Bangalore. And we are very much blessed to have madam among us. If we talk about the educational qualification, madam has done the highest education, that is PhD nursing and MSc in psychiatric nursing. Madam is a member of various reputed nursing organizations, such as madam is the NAB core member in NIMHANS, board of executive member at Rajiv Gandhi, University of Health Sciences, AIMS, MAHE, etc. Ma'am is having more experience in the field of theoretical as well as clinical area. If we talk about the research work, ma'am has guided more than 123 postgraduate research. Publication, ma'am has contributed many of the books in their chapters and monographs, etc. If we talk about awards, ma'am has been blessed best outgoing student in BSc Nursing of her career in 1984 from CMC Vellore. Madam has received President's Gold Medal in Nursing 1984. Madam has got the award for best article published in 2005. Madam has backed up the Florence Nightingale Award from Karnataka State in 2009. Madam has received the Florence Nightingale Award of India for best education 2014. And it's like the ocean in a pot, and it is very difficult to constrict with the time and to elaborate Madam's achievement. And I would like to say, regret that I could not explain much more about Madam's achievements. So without taking, I would like to invite Dr. Sai Lakshmi Madam to start with today's first session, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Poonam, for introducing me. Am I audible and visible?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
You are audible.
Okay. Okay. So good afternoon, everybody. My dear friend, Dr. Gopi Chandran, and Mrs. Julie, Mr. Neeraj, Dr. Maria, the other speaker, Dr. Muni Kumar. It's a real pleasure to meet you on this virtual platform, and all the participants who are attending. Good afternoon, everybody. Firstly, let me congratulate Dr. Gopi Chandran. I understand that this is the second webinar in this initiative. I think it's a very important initiative that nurses should look at advanced nurse practitioner in India. So let me just share my screen. Yeah, is it visible?
Madam, yes, madam.
Okay. Thank you. So the topic, as Dr. Gopi Chandran has mentioned and all the others have been reinforcing, is on advanced nurse practitioner, paving the way in India. So I'll be talking a little about the advanced nurse practitioner in India and initiatives at NIMHANS and way forward. So for most of us do know this, but for those who are students and are still learning, nurse practitioners, advanced practice nurses are healthcare professionals who can stand alone and work without the supervision of a physician. You can evaluate patients, can make diagnosis, you can provide care and treatment, and even prescribe medications. This is in the Western countries. These are highly trained healthcare workers, and they are important because they provide excellent specialized care and improve access to primary care. So the types of advanced practice nurses include those who provide midwifery services, general nurse practitioners, nurse anesthetists, and specialists. So specialists could be in any discipline of nursing. Currently in India, the advanced nurse practitioner is it's at a very nascent stage. I would say it is just starting. There is a 2-year nurse practitioner course initiated by the Indian Nursing Council, the postgraduate nurse practitioner critical care program. And this program intends to prepare registered BSc nurses to provide advanced nursing care to adults who are critically ill. So the nurse practitioners in critical care are accountable for competencies in patient selection, admission into the intensive care unit, and discharge, problem identification through assessment, selection, administration of medication or devices or therapies based on the individual patient's requirement, patient education, evaluation of outcomes, recognition and management of complications. So as I said, it's just started, and we really have to say how this, see how this is taken forward. So I'll move on to a little bit about what we are doing at NIMHANS, because I can speak best about what I am doing myself. And these are some clinical service initiatives by faculty from the Department of Nursing. So from 2017 onwards, after our former faculty had retired, I have taken over as head of the department. And we thought that we should take nursing in another direction. at NIMHANS. NIMHANS being a premier neuropsychiatric institute, make the best use of the available system which was already in place, and try to bring on a more active role for nursing faculty at the institute. And in this direction, I encouraged and motivated my other two faculty. We are only 3 faculty in the department. So they have done specialty in addiction medicine, one person, Dr. Prashanti, and the other person, Dr. Radhakrishnan, in child and adolescent psychiatry, while I have specialized in psychiatric rehabilitation services. So the SAFE clinic, that is the substance existence free, substance abuse free existence clinic. This was started just 2 years back, and it is started in the NIMHANS Center for Wellbeing. So we did find that there's a lot of stigma in the country when it comes to mental illness. I'm sure that you're all aware about this. So with that in mind, a Center for Wellbeing was started in the urban community, where people could come freely without any anxiety or without, feeling stigmatized. They could approach the faculty there and get services in case they had any mental health issues. So this SAFE clinic is set in that sort of a setting. The Nurture clinic is in the child and adolescent psychiatry, and that is run by Dr. Radhakrishnan. It looks more at, the appropriate parenting techniques, also counseling for children as well as parents about how to rear their children, how to nurture their children despite whatever mental health issues they have. And the other two are run by me, the Holistic Health Clinic in Adult Psychiatry and the Roses Cafe. You might wonder what is this Roses doing here in this academic forum, but we'll have a look at it as I'm moving on. So starting with the Holistic Health Clinic in Adult Psychiatry, as the very word says, it's all about holistic health. Actually, I felt that there was a need for this clinic in psychiatry services because in our very busy psychiatric OPD, the psychiatrists, the social work, the clinical psychologists, they all just have time to look at the patient, to try to diagnose, to prescribe medication, and then to ask the patient to come for follow-up or to admit the patient. So no one actually really looks at the holistic health component. And so this is where I thought that, the nursing faculty could fit in very well. And of course, it was a challenge to initiate this because such a thing did not exist previously. So I had to talk a lot about it to the psychiatrist. And luckily for me, there was the head of the Unit 5 was quite interested, Dr. Jagdisha Tirthali, and with his support, so I got a room in the OPD, and every Friday we would run a clinic. I also got my master's students and my PhD students involved in this. You can see my MSc students sitting there with me. So what we would do is patients with mental illness who had a risk of developing metabolic syndrome. So they can develop metabolic syndrome because of various reasons, either because of the antipsychotics which they are getting or because of the very illness, or sometimes it could be the medicines which make them lethargic and not interested in moving around, or maybe increase in appetite, and so they overeat on unhealthy food, and so they develop this metabolic syndrome which actually predisposes them towards more of cardiac conditions. And these, as you all know, are a very vulnerable group of people and with high mortality rates too. So they are prone for weight gain, diabetes mellitus, hypertension. Many patients with schizophrenia, because of poor coping, they also start smoking. So they are in actual need of lifestyle modification. And that is why this clinic became actually very popular. I never ever dreamt that it would become so popular because, every Friday there would be a huge number of referrals, and it was quite difficult to manage later. Initially, it took a lot of time. I had to keep reminding the senior resident, the other consultants, please send patients. But finally, as it started, and we used to have meetings every month, and of course, once in 3 months when new students joined the unit. So when we presented information about this clinic, it became more and more popular. And even patients who came for follow-up, especially came back to this clinic for some more guidance and also to see whether they had made any changes. So this clinic offered counseling services for various need-based components such as diet. So first we would talk to the patient, try to understand what background they are from. As we all know, India is a very diverse country with diverse cultures. Within Karnataka itself, we have so many cultures. So we had to try to understand what was their eating pattern, what was their activity pattern. And after understanding this, based on what they are used to, we try to, help them to further modify their diet or their physical activity. Also medication adherence, because psychiatric patients have a lot of problems with medication adherence, and because of this there's frequent relapse. Expressed emotions, the family emotional climate is very important. If there's a lot of non-therapeutic emotions like criticism, hostility within the family, it actually predisposes towards relapse of illness. Sleep hygiene, healthy use of technology, because nowadays as technology is getting more and more advanced, even patients with mental illness are all the time on various social media and watching movies late at night, and this could actually disturb their sleep, or it could lead to addiction to technology, which is another sort of a mental health issue. And services were offered in a very scientific manner. So we would check their height, weight, BMI, and then we would show them, where they were on that graph, and that they were unhealthy. The BMI was they were overweight, obese. We would also document it in an Excel sheet as well as in the patient's file, so that when they came for follow-up, we could again check and see if they had followed what we had told them and whether there was a reduction. So when patients who listened to us and try to make changes, and when there were changes in their BMI, they were quite motivated to keep following these changes or maintain the same. So around 67 patients over the past 3 years have attended these services, and 52 have come for follow-up, and at least 45 had shown significant reduction of weight. Based on this, there was also a MSc psychiatric nursing research and also 2 PhD research, one just completed last year and one is ongoing. So I'm just trying to show that how you need to connect clinical service, clinical activity with research, and try to show how it can be translated and also widespread disseminated to the world at large. And these are some publications in PubMed Index journals based on the work done in this clinic. There were at least 6 publications, all in PubMed Index journals, as you can see. We also managed to get an extramural funded research project from the Indian Council of Medical Research in 2019. So this is a 2 years multidisciplinary collaborative project. And these are some messages which I am also trying to give as I am talking, that, you need to collaborate with other disciplines, with other forums. Nursing can never, come up if you stand alone. You also have to collaborate with other disciplines so that you can give the best to the patient, who is the consumer. There was also a book which is published for patients and family caregivers, and it is published in 5 languages, as you can see: English, Hindi, Kannada, Tamil, and Telugu. So those were some of the outcomes of that clinic. And now moving on to Roses Cafe. So Roses Cafe, if you expand the abbreviation, it is nothing but recovery-oriented services cafe for persons with mental illness. You will all be wondering, those who are not from the mental health nursing background, what is this cafe? So actually, quite some time back, because we became, we are a multidisciplinary team at NIMHANS in the psychiatry units, and during the patient rounds, excuse me. We always found that family caregivers or patients would express that, either their patient could not perform activities of daily living, especially the instrumental activities of daily living. And because this became a need expressed by them, here again, I realized that this was an area which a nursing faculty could work in, strengthening or empowering people with mental illness to utilize the instrumental activities of daily living. And so I managed to get funding for a series of workshops for nearly 1 year, because we had to create awareness. So again, a new service, when you introduce, it has its own challenges. And of course, there is a lot of resistance. But if you work persistently and if you are passionate about something, you can achieve it. So I managed to get funding for this. Every month, this workshop would occur for a period of 1 year. And some of the reasons, like I had told, the family caregiver feels less stressed and burdened by the person with mental illness if they are able to engage in their activities of daily living. So activities of daily living, the basic activities are nothing but, grooming, eating properly, and taking bath, things like that. While the instrumental activities of daily living are a little higher level, where maybe, attending to telephone calls, communication, financial management, using transportation services. So these are all a range of instrumental activities of daily living, which all of us engage in every day without even thinking much about it. But these are very important for people with mental illness. So any rehabilitation program should always give attention to this aspect of care. So also, the family emotional climate also improves at home when the person with mental illness carries out his instrumental activities of daily living. And we also encourage the family caregivers to join with patients or to involve patients in work at home. Also, it helps in activity scheduling. It becomes a practice for them that they have to get out of bed at a certain time. It becomes a habit. It also paves the way towards vocational rehabilitation and recovery. So in a systematic review on consumer perspectives on the concept of recovery in schizophrenia, we found that participants perceived that their own self and improvement of their functioning as very important aspects of recovery. I'm just trying to say why this cafe is so important for people with mental illness. So we started initiating and sustaining a new vocational training section in the psychiatric rehabilitation services, looking at beyond train and place to placing and training people. These are some workshops, and over time it became quite popular. And you can see here the Dean of the Faculty of Behavioral Science, Dr. Chaturvedi, who's also a psychiatrist. So he started coming to these workshops because he heard of its popularity. You can see psychiatrists also who have joined in. You can see nurses here. And it really became very popular. I never expected that, it would gain so much popularity. And there were also male patients. So this was quite heartening. And this actually helped to show the value of this skill. And that is how I got permission to start. A small room was given to start the skill section. IADL is instrumental activities of daily living. And later, because it was very popular, finally the administration actually funded to, renovate one of the rooms to help us to convert it to a very beautiful, spanking new IADL skill training section, as you can see. So of course, it's not that easy. It took nearly 3-4 years for this to happen. And as another component of this, I had started a service project, which is the Roses Cafe from 2017 December onwards. So here you can see, it looks at, we actually, it's one of our psychiatry faculty realized that all the residents and all our students, they were eating a lot of unhealthy food. Many of them would come in the morning without breakfast in a rush to attend rounds, and they would just grab whatever was available in the restaurant nearby. And so we thought that there is a need for us to provide healthy food for our students and some of our staff who wouldn't bring food to the workplace. And we also thought that it would be a nice initiative if we could train people with mental illness to prepare these healthy food. And maybe this would be a way to, help them to learn this skill and then place them later in outside restaurants or cafes. So that is why you find that one of the family caregivers of a patient with mental illness volunteered to become an instructor. Of course, she is paid from NIMHANS. So that is why it is called as a consumer run professional supported initiative by the rehab. And I'm very grateful actually, because the psychiatric rehabilitation services has really supported me a lot. And today it's a team who is in this project. Along with me, I have 3 psychiatrists who are with me, 1 social work faculty and 1 psychologist. So you can see it is truly multidisciplinary. It's a self-sustainable model. There was no financial implication for the institute. So what the patients sold, from that money, profit was given to the patients as an incentive. The rest of the money was again used to prepare snacks for the next day. So this sort of cycling went on, and that is why it did not have any financial implications for the institute. So along with this, what happened is the patient skills also were empowered. And this here you can see a menu, and this menu is actually prepared by one of our psychologist's daughter who was in high school. It's a very beautiful menu which says what all things were offered by the cafe. So the people with mental illness were trained in various skills like, online ordering of grocery items, segregating the items, cleaning, cutting vegetable, fruits, cooking healthy, nutritious food, taking orders over the phone, serving customers on site, and also going to venues within the institute where conferences, seminars, workshops were happening and serving to the participants there, making cash transactions, money management, maintaining accounts, also getting feedback from customers through Google surveys and improving based on the feedback. So patients did not do this all alone. Rather, we were working side by side with them, and we also had to learn a lot because, we are, as you know, we are all healthcare professionals. So these nitty-gritties of business and all that, we didn't know much, but we learned as we went on. Now, this is a conference, International Marseille Conference. It's a perinatal psychiatric conference where we had a lot of foreign delegates. And you see in between, in the middle, 3 of our patients serving what they had prepared. And these are my students here with them. So you can see them, how beautifully they were serving international delegates without any fear or anxiety. It was a very nice experience, actually. The international delegates also were very appreciative of this novel initiative. And they kept asking, what is this Roses Cafe? So here is a picture which shows one of our patients who actually got a 3rd prize in a cooking competition. So, and 2 patients who actually came back after, ECT. ECT is nothing but electroconvulsive therapy. And they came back and they participated in this Rangoli competition and they got 3rd prize. So these 2 people also were part of the cafe. And at last, one of our patients actually secured a job. So one of the very satisfying outcomes of this cafe is that 3 people got placement, 1 within the institute and 2 outside. This is also a book which, based on our experiences, it's a multidisciplinary book. And it was initiated by me. Inside, you'll get a lot of chapters by psychiatrists, by social work, by clinical psychologists. And this picture is drawn by one of our patients under the guidance of a volunteer from society. We had many volunteers, and inside you will also find a foreword by one of the family caregivers. So in this cafe also, there is ongoing research. We actually motivated IMH, Institute of Mental Health in Haryana, Rochak, to start this, and they did try to start this cafe. And there is one MSc research which is completed on this topic. There is also an ongoing PhD study on development of a caregiver-mediated IADL module. It's still ongoing. There are some publications from this work too in the International Journal of Social Psychiatry and Journal of Psychosocial Rehabilitation, Mental Health. So what is very much endearing is that even during the COVID-19 pandemic, this cafe reached out to people with mental illness because they could not travel and come because of the various number of lockdowns. So we used to reach them in their home and, teach them how to carry on with their IADL skills. You can see our instructor here, the family caregiver. And also, at least there were a minimum of 15 people who logged in every day. And we also looked at later starting this Ayush Kwat. So the ministry, actually advocated this Ayush Kwat beverage, looking at increasing immunity during the COVID-19 pandemic. We also created a WhatsApp group for our patients and family caregivers. And today, this WhatsApp group, the family members, they motivate each other and the patients put videos of what they have done at home. So they actually handhold each other. Even if we are not there one day, someone in that group conducts an online session. So it's really enduring that we have created a network and it is holding its own. So these are two initiatives which I thought I would share, and which I think it is possible for many people in the country to sort of try to make waves wherever they are towards advanced nursing practice. It is possible. All of us have to join hands. The way forward in India, why is there a need for ANP in India? Like, there are 72% of Indian population residing in rural areas. Yes.
Ma'am, can we run little fast, ma'am?
Yes, I'm going to wind up. There are only two more slides.
Sorry to interrupt, ma'am.
Yeah, no problem. I'm just winding up. So there are at least, a huge number of Indians residing in rural areas, and 75% of medical providers residing in urban areas. So actually, India is currently experiencing a significant shortage of physicians, especially in rural areas. And that is why it would be good if we have ANPs in the rural areas, because in the absence of physicians, I think ANPs would function beautifully, and it would be a good resource. India also has an alarmingly low nurse to physician ratio, and there's a need for primary health care. And I think in this area, there's a good opportunity for advanced nurse practitioner. So more nurse educators participating in clinical work and research, and not just sticking to teaching alone. Support, of course, a lot of support is required by professional bodies, but to get support, you need to first show that you are passionate and you are trying to do something. Support at the workplace, acceptance by the medical profession, acceptance by society. So these are 5 very important needs, and I'm sure that with all this, in future there is a good chance for advanced nurse practitioner to get established in India too. So I'm concluding by acknowledging Dr. Gopi Chandran and the team of organizers, the Society of Cardiac Nurses India, the Nurses Teachers Association, and CBS. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. If there are any questions now, or I will take it later.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. We are having some queries, ma'am. So can we start taking the question answer session, ma'am?
Yeah.
So the very first is, can BSc nurse prescribe medicine to critically ill patient after this course?
Yeah, right now prescription authority is not there in India. It's not given.
Yes, ma'am. The next query is saying, can we open our own clinic or any nursing home after doing postgraduate nursing degree like advanced nurse practitioner course?
See, like right now, I'm not an expert in critical care. I'm an expert in psychiatric rehabilitation services. But we have to see, like I started, it is in a very nascent stage. The nurse practitioner course in critical care has just started, and we are yet to see what is going to happen when these people come out, what sort of support is given by the medical fraternity. Because in a country like United States, for example, I had been to New York, and what I heard there was, there is a a physician who supports or mentors the nurse practitioner, and usually it is they can prescribe medicines with the support of the physician. So like India still has to grow to that stature where the medical people accept. And I'm actually of course nursing in India is in a very diverse stage also. I would say there is also a proportion of nurses who have not received that quality education, I'm sorry to say, but it is a truth. So if such nurses prescribe medicines, without that proper knowledge, it can be detrimental to patients, and possibly that is why there is so much hesitancy. That is why I say that, we nurses should prove our worth to medical fraternity by working with them in the clinical area. Only when we work with them in the clinical area will they gain some, confidence on nurses. Only then it's going to be possible. I don't know, Dr. Gopi Chandran should correct me, but that's what I feel.
Please unmute yourself.
Madam, you are rightly said, madam. Still, we are diverse in terms of our nursing education in India. We have, that not equity there. What you exactly say, what is happening in AIMS may not happen in some of the private. So that's a reason one that INC also now changed the curriculum to put into that. How we can be balanced with everyone. And they said a lot of things. Now regulation has come with a new curriculum. I hope everyone come to know that how much is the requirement of the the hospital, if you have parental hospital to be there, if you are running the institution, so many things changes happening. That madam exactly said, we don't have that quality which you are going to give through our, not only education with our practice, that prove ourselves to the society what we can be the practitioner. Not only even we started in NCC in critical care, still we didn't get that any type of our legally permitted to go into be the practitioner. So even INC started. So that limitation still. So we are looking for a National Nursing Commission. Medicine is coming up now. That madam, everybody there as an expert, they are going to set the guideline for our practices. That is why in the meantime we are working this type of program to sensitize ourselves. And definitely Dr. Pimla Kapoor, madam, many people, experts and ENI, all working on that to bring up the change in be the practitioner. That time we come to know what is the prerequisite for us. And meantime, madam told we are dedication. Dedication means in terms of how to accept our work to do, and with our skill and competency, that going to be only sustained. Even whatever that tomorrow, if something happened to the patient, they revert back everything. That's why this National Nursing Commission with the medical experts. It is not only nursing. I hope everyone got it. I think that's the most information for all the participants today. So what be our quality, that only going to speak our profession to be visible. It is not only with your qualification, whatever you are. So that to be sustained. I hope that we are. This is the true madam. Without even, it's not her commitment. She can be the teacher, be the researcher. How she extend a role to prove being at par with the medical people. That's why we bringing the expert like to talk with us to open our mind up. So definitely it may be going to the good for India. What we are looking for. So usually I can say nursing profession growing not for us only, as it's for the society. So that's a concern. Only we have to have that in our mind. Thank you, madam.
Yeah. Thank you,
sir. And I hope the answer is very much satisfying, and we agree with that. First, we have to improve the quality, then we can talk about this. So next, ma'am, we are having one more query like, what is the process to get admission in advanced nursing practitioner course, ma'am? How one can enroll?
See, first you have to see the institute which is offering, like CMC Vellore. There are some places, St. John's in Bangalore, they are offering these courses. So find out, and then, BSc nursing is the prerequisite. So I suppose they have an entrance and all that. You will have to clear that and get into the course.
So here is one question from the research side, ma'am. May I ask?
Yeah.
One is having the doubt regarding what is mixed method of research? Mixed method.
Okay, so mixed method is nothing but you integrating both quantitative research and qualitative research. So with the quantitative research, basically you're using your questionnaires, your rating scales or checklist, and you get results in numericals. Qualitative research is more, you get a lot of rich verbatim about patients' experience or whatever phenomena is going on. So when you use both quantitative and qualitative research, it's called as mixed method, and you are actually getting the advantage of best out of both these research approaches.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We have covered up with all the relevant questions of today's session, and really it was very wonderful session. We got a heap full of experience with the live photographs, whatever you have shared, ma'am. We have learned a lot, and our audience has gained a lot. Thank you so much for your valuable presence and your valuable time, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So let me take you to the second speaker of the day. He's none other than Dr. Munikumar Ramasamy Venkatasalu. Sir is working as a consultant nurse, end of life care at North Middlesex University, NHS Trust Hospital, London. If we talk about the educational qualification, sir has postgraduate qualification on non-medical prescribing from University of Hertfordshire. Sir has postgraduate diploma in professional education from University UK, post PhD nursing from the University of Nottingham, UK, and sir has received national award from the Royal College of Nursing for his distinguished research work during PhD nursing in the year 2011. Sir has done MSc nursing from Sri Ramachandra University, Chennai, India in 2002, and BSc nursing from the Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR University, Chennai. Sir has various professional registrations like RNT, Registered General Nurse, Registered Mental Nurse, Fellow of Higher Education Academy at United Kingdom. Sir has Editor-in-Chief in Brunei Darussalam Journal of Health, Associate Editor in Journal of Advance in Nursing Doctoral Education and Research, Editorial Board Member in Journal of Research in Nursing, and peer reviewer for international nursing journals, etc. If we talk about the research work, sir is having immense of research work in his field. He is with 13 ongoing research projects, continuation in going on. He has guided more than 13 research work, published several research articles in indexed international journals, and presented various papers in international research and educational conferences. If we talk about the special achievements, sir has received the Akin Senya Award at Royal College of Nursing in 2012, Indian Travel Award in 2008. Sir has received Professional Development Award in 2008 and in the year of 2009 as well. Held the Hospices Professional Development Award in 2008 and many more. So I would like to request Dr. Munikumar sir to enlighten on Advanced Nurse Practitioner Program in UK. It's over to you, Dr. Munikumar sir.
Dr. Munikumar, you are not audible.
Thank you for this. Two seconds, okay. Thank you, Govichandra. Nice to see you again. Yeah, and everyone, thank you, Ms. Poonam and Madam Salakshmi and all the participants. And so I think we are SRMC alumni. We had a lot of dreams in our rented rooms, and we discussed. And I think I'm so pleased to see the next generation nursing is growing, abundantly in knowledge and also in the practice settings. So there's a lot of challenges in theory to practice. I think in a summary, what Poonam said about my professional journey, being as a teacher and being as a nurse, a frontline nurse, and then professor in nursing and the deputy head of school in Oxford Brookes, then moving towards consultant nurse in palliative and upper care. It's a big journey. What I tried in my life is actually to see the real core nursing where I can see the outcomes in my eyes and also impact on the society. So that's the biggest achievement I believe what I made in my life, impacting on patients' lives, whether they are from the birth or when they are dying, even after the death. So this presentation and continuation of Madam Salakshmi's presentation, how we grown, and I was in UK, I'm still in UK, last 18 years, and how we grow Advanced Nurse Practitioner Program, and what is the challenges, what I faced, and what we faced in UK, and where we are going ahead. So I'm giving you some reflections about how the Advanced Nurse Practitioner Program is happening and in practice in education. I think the real case 3 months ago when I went to the S2, like surgical 2 ward, there's a Claire, 64 years woman is lying down on the bed, liver cirrhosis and with multiple morbidities and pain, agitated, restless, secretions in the last days of life, secretions and diarrhea, and shouted, wanted to go home and wanted to, but the social history, husband John, who lives alone, who said he can't go at her home. So because the 2 daughters lives in Spain, so there was a treatment, alfentanil, midazolam, and buscofine, lactulose, a lot of medications being prescribed, but still she's in pain and agony and lying naked and agitated, throwing the dress away, screaming for help, and the nurses said she did not sleep well and scratching all over the body because of liver cirrhosis and everything. So I went inside as a consultant nurse, as a senior advanced nurse practitioner in that particular setting. As I think what Poonam said was, I was the first nurse consultant nurse in this particular trust. So there was a lot of expectation what ANP, like advanced nurse practitioner, can do, what the senior most a nurse consultant can do. So then I went inside and then my role is started. So I'm a frontline nurse, but I'm a consultant nurse. I'm a senior nurse consultant. So am I going to, along with me, there was my medical doctor teams, and they already visited. So it's a kind of thing when I'm a consultant, I'm equivalent to medical consultant. So when I have my caseload, they don't need to see the doctors, or when I see the patients, and we will share the practice. I'll ask for the doubt, and they will ask for the doubt, and we share the practice. But actually, it is my caseload. So then the initial, I was accompanied with my junior doctors and the CNS, clinical nurse specialists, and the ANPs. So I said, what we should be doing? Are we going to increase the medication, or are we going to, what we're going to do? So my junior doctors, still remember her name, and she said, Kumar, can we increase midazolam? Can we sedate her so that she can get rest and so that agitation can be reduced? And my nurses said, the advanced nurse practitioners and my clinical nurse specialists, they said, Kumar, there's a lot of social issues, Kumar. I think we need to focus on, social issues. So then what I did is actually, I went inside. I said, first thing is actually, I called the nurses, band 5, that means a frontline nurse. I said, okay, could you please close the windows, because the windows is open, she's nagged, and the privacy and dignity. Then I went near to her. I was holding a hand. The picture is different, but the same scenario. I was holding a hand, was talking with Claire. Claire, it's Kumar. I want to go home. Claire, I'm Kumar. I'm a nurse consultant here. I want to go home. Claire, it's Kumar here, and I'm here to help you. I know you want to go home. I think John is coming today afternoon, 2 o'clock. Yes, but I want to go home. Yes, Claire. Your husband, John, is coming. Your daughter is still in Spain. Yeah. Then who will look after you, Claire? John cannot look after. Yes, yeah, he can't look after. See, what I did is I was stroking a hand. I was communicating with her, and I was trying to I was trying to help her to understand what is the context. So then after nearly 30 minutes, she started to doze and she started to sleep. So what I did is I reduced the social isolation. I given a comfort. I did not do any medication. So then after that particular visit, the whole team said, this is called advanced nurse practice. This is called a consultant nurse can do. A holistic care, a nurse, okay? A holistic care. It is not just depending on the medication. It is not depending on the social users. It depends on the person-centered care. I mean, for me, it is the basic essentials of nursing. But actually, as an advanced nurse practitioner, I can prescribe all the medications, but I need to see the holistic approach. So what it said in the meaning of A&P in UK context, we said it is a level of practice rather than a type of practice. We are not, it is not, how to say, the type of practice, A&P in palliative, A&P in surgical practitioner, even in UK, they can do surgery, they can prescribe any medications under the, BN, British National Formulary, and we can do everything, but it is not just doing the job. It is a level of practice. Yeah, they must be educated in master's level, and they are being assessed competent in practice and using the expert, clinical knowledge. Just being honest, to pass this, I think Mr. Gobi knows me. I started nursing education in 1993, but my last degree is 2019 when I finished this A&P course, nurse practitioner prescriber course. So during that particular exam, I was being failed 5 times in my clinical assessment because I need to, because in my what's called clinical assessment skills, because it is the life and the responsibility of the patient lies on my assessment and skills and decision making. So that's why the A&P is autonomous decision. If I increase the buscapine, if I decrease my alprazolam, if I switch to the morphine to another medication, it is my decision. Like for example, one medication, morphine, is a sedative medication for pain, cancer pain, and one patient, it was prescribed only 5 to 10 milligram, but that particular patient with a bone cancer, I prescribed 200 milligram in ICU, and everyone shocked, including consultant anesthesiologist. Why you're prescribing 200? Then I said it's end of life, and I want patient to be free from suffering. So there is no limitation in national formulary. I can prescribe, whatever it helps the patient. So that is my autonomous decision. So that's the meaning of A&P in UK context, because I think I'm so pleased to see how Sai Lakshmi ma'am is impacting, integrating the pillars of advanced nurse practitioner. So my role is actually, it's 4 days I worked in the hospital. So the direct care is a 1 day, and then research is a 1 day Thursday, and leadership is a Tuesday morning, and that's a morning, and also education is Friday. So it's 4 days are divided into 4 domains in my practice. And also, like when I get any difficult patients, like even when I about to leave my home, and when I get a patients, very complex patients, and if they ring me, Kumar, the doctors and nurses, Kumar, really it's chaotic and we can't manage, could you please come and help? So then I go, I don't just go and prescribe medication. They are not asking for me to come and prescribe. I need to see this complex health issues among the patients, and then I need to settle down that complex patient care issues, like maybe the family issues, maybe the visiting issues, maybe the medications, and maybe like the patients may be violent and in racism and all of the things I need to settle down, and also maybe taking additions about DNA CPR, so do not risk it. So allowing them to take advanced decision making, advanced directives. So that kind of challenges in our practice. So advanced practice in my setting is my 4 days are divided into four domains: clinical practice, research, leadership, and education. So what happened in UK, it was the last 25 to 30 years. It started since 1980s, the A&P was there. But 1995 kind of things, they started to have a role development. In 2002, the first RCN guidance about nurse practitioner. And 2010, there was a RCN given an A&P competencies. And even 2010, the Department of Health, the ministry given a position statement nurses can do. And 2011, the A&P growth happened across all the sectors, from psychiatric to primary care to surgical practitioner. I know in Derby, in UK, nurses can do the minor surgeries, and also, me, I can prescribe any endophthalmitis and palliative medications. So it's a breadth of A&P roles, proliferated in UK. The reason, because actually, I mean, the people say, are we replacing junior doctors? Like when we make a business cases for developing a new roles, yes, what is the salary for doctors? What is the salary for nurses? And I think I do not compromise. Yes, nurses get a low salary. We appointed junior not doctors to nurses to replace the junior doctors. My compromise is actually how best the nurses can provide a holistic approach comparing to a medical model. A medical model is a curative. Yeah, when you Google my name, and I published a paper about or treat or die. So that's a treat model is a medical model, and for us it's actually a care model. So but initially the workforce business model is because there is a reduced number of junior doctors, and there is an increased acute care because demand, and also the pressure on hospital capacity, so which influence the role of ANPs in the practice. And things have come a long way. I still remember me and Mr. Govichandran when we are studying in Ramachandra in Chennai, and one US professor, I think Morgan, am I right? Gobi, Dr. Morgan, he came and he said the American model of, you guys are maids for doctors, God's sake, okay, it's 30 years ago. I think we came a long way, and now we are in ANP. Initially, because I was the first nurse consultant in the UK, in that particular NHS hospital, there was a lot of challenges. Me and my consultant medical doctors, we fight each other because they need to accept me. I'm not bothered because I have my PIN number. PIN number means I have my registration. If anything happens to the patient can sue me and they can lapse my registration number. So I have my own responsibility on prescribing any medications and taking a care decisions. And that's where I stood. This is my practice, my patients, I'll take my decisions. It's not like I'm fighting. It's like a share. I mean, many doctors, I can show the millions of emails. Many doctors, they ask me, I go to them, okay, Julie, I'm not able to manage these patients. Do you think I should do this one? And also Julia may come back to me, Kumar, I mean, this is a very difficult patient, Kumar. Do you think you can give a hand on this one? So that's kind of, a mutual respect in my practice. So the things can have come a long way accepting a role of nurses. And also practically the previous health minister in UK, they said, he said, I took my children to A&E, but I don't want to, because I don't want to wait for my local doctor GP's appointment. That's why there is a pressures in emergency departments, so where we don't have enough doctors to treat. So then that given an opportunity for nurses to grow and expand the roles. And even particularly, even general practice, what they said is, oh, you are just concentrating ANP roles only in hospital settings. It is also in the practice areas, because everyone talks about emergency departments, but there is an explosion in demand in general practice, like what our Salakshmi madam is telling about wellness clinics in community settings. So that being ignored, and the role of nurse, in general practice or community practice is a bigger role, and ANPs have a bigger role, bigger scope of practice in primary care settings. And also it is not only the hospital and community challenges, it is also related to, in UK, increasing and aging population, because they have a more complex and long-term conditions. And also there is a reduced funding in community and general practice, and lack of long-term planning. What is the 2050? What is the 2060? What is the 2100? What is the population? What is the matching, nurse-patient ratio, doctor-nurse-patient ratio? And what is the demands? What are the changing disease conditions like pandemics and epidemics? Yeah, and in particularly, we concentrating, moving patients in from the hospital setting to general practice, where there is an increased need for ANPs, because general practice is a bedrock for National Health Service in UK, and we have they work 8 to 8 and 7-day access to GP appointments. No, it is not happening. It's in the weekends. There is no doctors. There is no general practitioners. Everyone rush to the A&Es, and in UK there is no private hospitals, or maybe 99.9% or government hospitals, and so there is no weekend services. So everyone rushed to the hospitals. So they said in ANP role and also recruiting GPs are real problems. And so they said ANPs in general practice have a sustainability and affordability in issues. As I said, in a practice as what is called a program level development, the ANP is still since 1980s, and there was a clinical master's degree, and there is a clinical examination component is a very strong and diagnostic skills. That's where I said I failed 5 times in the examination before I became as a practitioner. So, and also the key element is the independent prescriber qualification. So which legal, the Medicines Act UK changed, nearly 50 years ago, allowing nurses to prescribe any medications. I mean, the key thing is, like for me, I can prescribe from page 1 to page number 348, but actually that is not the thing. I need to practice wherever my scope of practice. Like for example, palliative and end of life care, I can prescribe any medication. I can't prescribe antibiotics, or I can't practice whatever dermatitis creams, because that is not my scope of practice. So that kind of legal responsibilities in prescribing being taught in the nurse ANP program, and also is ability to communicate and negotiate. Even last time, thanks Gopi to appreciating my professional development. Last week, one of the the patient slapped the nurse, and the family was on the floor. It's like a cat. It's like the ward is upset, and nurses do not want to go and care for that particular patient because the patient is denying the patient is dying. So the family is denying, they don't want to accept. So they asked me, Kumar, could you go and help the family to recognize dying, understanding, accepting dying and death and dying process? I don't know. I tried my holistic way. I was humble. There has been abuse with the F words, initial words, because it's agitated, aggressive, denying family. But after 20 to 30 minutes, I did, my own way of doing a nursing. And next day, that same evening, when I left the ward at 7:30, my whole hospital, from chief nurse to my director, said, Kumar, I think you have a magic hand, Kumar. So that's kind of ability to communicate and negotiate, understand people. And that's actually nursing core skills, the problem solving and initiative. What I made is actually the patient can drink she was, what's called? It's a gin and tonic, so it's alcohol. And I said every day he drinks in a gin and tonic, and because he was hospitalized and dying, the gin and tonic, the drinks, alcohol is not allowed. Then what I said to the family is, hey, come on, your dad is dying and he likes to drink. Why you resisting this one? Then nurses said, no, we will not allow family to go out because of COVID things. So then I said, okay, let me go and buy. So I got money from the patient's family. I went outside the hospital. I brought the alcohol drink, and I gave him the alcohol drink. And it's not it's enabling them. It's understanding and allowing them to appreciate the contextual caring. Yeah, so that's what the scope of ANP practice. I think there was the biggest Cochrane review being published, 15 years ago in UK, and doctors and nurses generate a similar short-term healthcare outcomes for the patients. There is no difference between doctors and nurses when in producing outcomes, and patient satisfaction was higher when nurses provided care, and patient satisfaction was higher when the nurse-led management is given in the chronic disease management. There's a stronger evidence will be given. The nurses are doing a better care comparing to doctors. We are not comparing here. We are proving that nurses can deliver the care. However, what happens is nurse consultations, the length is tend to be increasing. When I go to the patients, I think me and Mr. Gopi is very good talkers. We go and talk and talk. So, you know, the length is going bigger because we want to provide a person-centered care. When we needed time to understand the patient. So that was the biggest complaints about ANPs. Oh, when you call the doctors, they just come and write prescriptions, they do a quick assessment, they finish it. But actually not really. And we do holistic care. So that's why our consultation lends, you know, more. And nurses tended to recall patients more frequently because we are, you know, because it's ingrained in our you know, DNA of nurses. Yeah. So we recall patients very frequently. And so prescribing practices are very similar between doctors. I mean, there is no doubt, if I prescribe a morphine, my co-consultant prescribe a morphine, is the same practice. And there is no significant reduction in the cost. And then, however, though there's a benefits and thing, the ANP still in UK is not regulated. We are moving towards, and there's a prescribing qualifications is a must, and there's a huge demand for the prescribing qualification. And there's a slow growth in available roles. It's nearly 50 years, and just last year or 2018 something, nurses can do the surgeries. So it is a long way we are moving. And confusing titles. Who is consultant nurse? Who is a senior ANPs? Who is an ANP? There's a lot of confusion in titles, but there is one term is generic, is advanced practice. And MSc courses are in variation. Is it a master's MSc in advanced clinical practice or MSc in advanced nurse practice? Or, you know, there's a titles or variations. So, and also in the society, we can put the nurses in the out of hours so that they can manage the patients. So we've been pushed towards giving a care or providing an advanced practice when there is a shortage of doctors in the time and the place, like out of hospital and general practice. And if we need a triage for same day appointment, or if the patients definitely need a face-to-face during pandemic, if the patient needs a home visit. So we've been, we've been pushed towards providing care when there is a need, rather than being as a mainstay, stakeholder in healthcare practice as a nurse practitioner. But the London scene is totally different. In London, where I practice, because ANP is much more independent practice across the UK, that role developed. But in London, still we are behind. And there's the need, because it's a diverse, it's a big population in London, and we do not know what is the exact need of ANPs in our practices. And there's a lot of models we need to develop, and we do not know which model fits into London context. And in 2016, when we found
Excuse me, sir, can we speed up a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So when 2015, when we started to had an NHS recruitment crisis, when we started to reopen gates for my international nurses to come to UK, and that time they said, we cannot tolerate with the local nurses, and we need to have a lot of vacancies in nursing and also doctors. Then we need to increase the international recruitment, and also we need to upskill the ANPs in the general practice. So where we found the scope of nursing ANP is much more diverse things happens. So you can see the one picture, my last picture you can see here. This is London, and where I work is in North Middlesex Hospital here, North Middlesex Hospital. And you can see here, there's a hospitals here in Oranges, NHS Trust, and also the Foundation Trust. But it's we are not able to provide a care with this many hospitals in London. So that's why we struggle with we really get palpitations and agitations in our emergency A&E departments, because there is a massive demand for beds and admissions. So where the ANPs play the major role. And thank you so much for giving the opportunity to share what is my demands and needs in London for ANPs. Thank you.
much, sir, for this valuable and excellent presentation on advanced nursing practitioner role in UK. And you elaborated about what the challenges we are facing in UK as well. Since this course has been started in the earlier 1980s in UK, and India, we have started just now. So, and I hope we can also proceed in India with the further recommendations, with the further practices. We made it done in India. So we have to focus on our practices so that we can win the trust of our patients. Yes, nurses also they can also prescribe, then only we can win the game. Thank you very much for this valuable session, sir. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Munikumar. Actually, last program, Dr. Annapurna Mary came, and she also mentioned that Dr. Morgan, who was the eye opener for us, we talked about that again. You are mentioning the same thing. I think I didn't talk with you on that information that you are recalling that, how we were got our vision, and like Madam, what Sai Lakshmi doing that. The same way we will go forward. I hope that it's a very wonderful presentation and your experience. But one thing I got message, I think everyone, what Madam said, ANP is not easy. Maybe the researcher or maybe, maybe the teacher, ANP need competence. You have to prove. Otherwise, you may kill the patient. So you have the very rightly said, 5 times you appeared in the exams for clinical assessment. That's true. That is the most important skill we required. That's why doctors still above than us. Why the reason is we have to be developed confident. Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Muni.
Over to you, Julie, ma'am.
I think she's not. Dr. Poonam, any questions, Ms. Poonam? Any questions for him?
No, sir. Actually, questions were related course where the colleges are there in India. No specialized questions related to UK based.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Has been done. So everyone enjoyed. I have seen the feedback. Everyone enjoyed and really they're motivated. And I think any other questions? I think that's nothing. If the madam is there, Sai Lakshmi madam, anything is there to relate to India, you can ask.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to appreciate Dr. Muniswamy a lot. I think it was Munikumar. It was really wonderful listening to you. And, we do have students in NHS in UK, in London. I've stayed with them also. I've heard from them also their perspectives of working there. Also in US, one of my students has become a nurse practitioner recently, just last year. So I think it's a wonderful experience, and you all are fortunate that you have the system there is already in place. Like Gopi is rightly pointed out, I do wish that you all would support India to grow to that level, because we have a lot to learn from you. I think it would be wonderful.
That is one of the motto, madam. I am bringing all people. Even many people are still waiting. We are giving chance for every month from Canada, Australia, all of even my batchmate, I can say, my junior batchmate. We are from even AIMS also. Many of them become ANP. We are bringing everyone here in the forum. Now, why monthly once, later on by 15 days once, as per our capacity. Later on, they become the expert for us when we go into that. That's why TNA is going to work with them in future. We'll bring out that, the ANP will soon, then these people will be expert for us to bring the change. That is the idea, actually. That's the vision for us. Hopefully, it will move, madam. The association is there always with us, and the NTA is there. So, if people like you there, so definitely we'll move forward. That's a way to go.
Yes, true. We can learn a lot from your success and lessons, where we should not repeat certain mistakes.
Yeah,
so I think it would be wonderful to have that sort of interaction and collaboration. We are very proud of you also. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It was really a very excellent presentation, Dr. Muni. And I think it's not just about thinking about prescribing medicines. It is much more than that. Our clinical practice, our education, leadership, and all that. I appreciate that point very much.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just to reflect. It took nearly 2 months. Every day I need to go and do the cases with them, and they never recognize what you're going to see the patients. I will not allow you to. I said, who are you to allow me to go? It's kind of biggest challenge, as Salakshmi Madam said. But actually, when we prove that we are worth, and when we provide, we are different, to be honest, my friends, we are different piece. We are nurses. I can do, I say a magic hand. We provide a different care. We are different. We are not, so when we see that uniqueness of, when people recognize that uniqueness and the whole hospital supported, no, Kumar is an independent practitioner in the whole trust. So any patients in my hospital, 1,200 patients, 1,200 patients die every year. That means every day, 3 patients die. All 3 patients will be touched by me. Without my influence, they will not die. So that means that's the impact of care, what we're providing. But it's a struggle to come. Thank you, much appreciated. Thanks, Kavi.
Okay, fine. I think now the time for thanks will be.
I would like to request Ms. Daini ma'am to propose the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. After having such a great talk by Dr. Muni and Dr. Sai Lakshmi, it wouldn't end with without having a vote of thanks. Myself, Daini Thomas, General Secretary of SOCN, would like to propose the vote of thanks for the day. Firstly, I would like to thank our special eminent speakers, Dr. Sai Lakshmi Gandhi and Dr. Munikumar Ramasamy, for taking your valuable time and explaining about the advanced nursing practitioner, what you are doing in India as well as in UK. Dr. Sai Lakshmi, your talk was very inspiring for those in India, especially the Roses Cafe. That was really heart-touching one. And hope this type of more initiatives will come in other hospitals also. Likewise, thank you, ma'am. I would also like to thank Dr. Munikumar Ramasamy for explaining the advanced nurse practitioner care that you are providing in UK, and we are very happy to have you. Thank you, sir. And next, I would like to thank our President of SOCN, Mr. Neeraj Kumar, as well as Dr. L. Gobichandran, the patron and founder president of SOCN, who has helped us to come together like this and hear from you. We are thankful to you, both of you, sirs. Next, I would like to thank Ms. Poonam Thakur, who is as well as Julie ma'am, who are the coordinators and moderators of this session, for coordinating this session very well. Thank you, madams. And I would like to also thank Dr. Maria ma'am, who is also the co-chairperson of this program. I would also like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Ms. Jyotishana, Joint Secretary of SOCN, who also worked behind this program. At the end, I would like to thank all the participants who have been with us for the last 1.5 hours. Without you, this program would have been a success. So I like to thank everyone for the valuable time, and we'll meet you again after a month. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. CBS, I think, want to say something. CBS.
Yes, sir. So I am Pratigya, and I am the PR officer from CBS Publishers and Distributors. We are honored to be part of such a distinctive initiative taken by SOCN and NTA for helping nurses to learn more advanced nursing practices. I would like to thank our eminent speakers, Dr. Sai Lakshmi ma'am and Dr. Munikumar sir, for imparting knowledge on various facets related to nursing. And last but not the least, I would like to thank all the SOCN and NTA members who made us their partners in the journey of knowledge. And also, we cannot end this webinar without thanking our lovely audience members who made this webinar so interactive and made it a huge success. So thank you all.
Thank you everyone. Dr. Mani madam, thank you very much. Thank you everyone.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you all.